Hello, and welcome to my 0% LTC of Order of the Crimson RM, Chapter 7 and Chapter 7X in particular. Chapter 7 is a bit of a doozy at first glance. It's a pretty big map with several side objectives, particularly two new units which we need to recruit. Because the thief is closer, we're going to head on over to him first on the right. And since the one on the left actually ends up breaking free on her own, we're just going to use enemies to lure her over to the right. In the meantime, we're going to try to feed in as many kills as possible. As I've mentioned before, this is of course just so that we can get him to level 10 and just have more 8-flyer movement. Because, shocker, but even if his stats will be horrible, as an 8-move flyer, you can still do quite a bit. Here we just have an event where the thief gets an iron sword. This isn't too important, but it's nice to get a free iron sword, I guess. Here, this positioning is pretty important. Specifically, we need to make sure that Negu did not get attacked, or did not get hit by that Iron Axe fighter, so that the mage will appear below that pillow and can get killed by Chiara. Or Chiara, rather, as I've been told it's actually pronounced. You may notice throughout this chapter, I'm going to, and in the future, that I'm going to be using quite a bit of Seal, the 2-3 range tome that the MU has. And the reasoning for that is simply because I can't sell it since it's a Prif weapon, and I'm going to need as much money as possible in the long run. So I might as well do some small micromanaging like that when possible, just for even a very small amount of cash. Here, we get a crit. That's not completely necessary on that Myrmidon. Even if Ornce did not crit, he would have had an opportunity to kill him on enemy fades, but it's nice to crit him just because then we don't face a crit chance from him. From that Myrmidon, I mean. As that Myrmidon had a droppable killing edge, which we desperately wanted because with a killing edge, Ornce can get up to 50 crit or so, which is very useful. Here, I use a convoy warp so that I can get the door key over to someone without having too many issues. For both of the green units that we will be recruiting, either Alchemist or the Tactician must talk to him. Either way, there's nothing else different, but obviously the positioning of all that matters, as Alchemist is going to be over here for the most part, as he tries to block off the passageway in a good way. Because I didn't mention it, but on the previous torrent there was a cutscene that I needed to skip. If you do not skip the cutscene, Nilda in the top left will be in the center of her cell and will not be able to move on the NPC phase, which ruins the strategy. Thankfully, if you skip it, instead she starts pretty close to the bottom of her cell, and she can move, which allows her to be lured over to the right to attack this archer on NPC phase. You may be wondering why Chiara moved in front of that archer, and you can see now that we exploited how enemy AI works so that we could block off that passageway. In case you didn't know, how enemy AI works is that, generally speaking, it prioritizes 1 range units before 2 range units. The exceptions occur whenever enemies have low health, in which case they just move in really weird and different ways. Usually just becoming semi-suicidal and just running in to fight you, even though it just will get them killed. Anyway, we just recruited Robert. He's a pretty normal thief with surprisingly decent defensive stats. But we're not going to see too much of him in this chapter because while he does have stats that compete with Chiara with like nearly identical bases with just like I think 1 less defense and 1 less HP, and a lot more resistance, it's just not really worth it. Anyway, here I make sure not to accidentally kill this enemy archer and lord that archer over more to the right even more, so we can have Nilda continue to be lured over to the right. It's very important that Nilda continues to be lured over to the right, as we still need to recruit her. You may not be able to see it now, because Nilda is currently wielding a steel lance which weighs her down quite a bit. But she's actually got very good bases. I should mention right here for that Sven hand axe hit, that the reason I use a hand axe and not an iron axe is because Sven would then get attacked by the archer on enemy phase. In hindsight, it's probably not actually necessary at all, because the archer probably can't kill due to the 2 times weapon effectiveness, even with a steel lance. But, oh well. Hindsight's 20/20, I guess. Anyway, here we go ahead and actually trade over. Well, yeah, I think we already did. Trade over Nilda an Iron Lance, because Steel Lance weighs her down by quite a bit, and she has very good base speed, so it's kind of a disservice to have her start with a Steel Lance. Also on the right, I made it so that Alchemist is the one blocking the path now, and is now attacking that archer. The reason I'm doing that is because Alchemist is actually very close to C rank in lances, and that's basically as far as we ever need him to go, but it's nice to have him go ahead and get there this early. Here we killed this knight and get a door key, and then we're going to have it traded over to Goldwolf so that he can open the door, so that Ernst has a clear path to the boss. Of course, we're not going to kill the boss just yet, as we want to feed a little bit of EXP to various units. And we also need Nilda's Lance rank to get up a bit higher as well. In hindsight, I probably should have used the opportunity to feed more weapon EXP to Beatrice instead. Either way, that's the map in 6 torrents. And we can move on to Chapter 7X after this. Chapter 7X is another chapter with Wayland and whatnot, but this time without Mela. Mela joins a chapter later than everyone else, which is somewhat annoying. you may be wondering why we are heading to the north. And there was a couple of reasons. For one, there was a hidden body ring in the top right, underneath where that stationary soldier is on that forest. And we wish to get it and also use it to convoy war the energy ring. The other reason we're heading to the north is because we wish to kill the boss, since that's the objective of the chapter. And the boss moves and has 2 range, or 1 to 2 range, so it's pretty easy to just lure him over with Vlad. And over the course of 3 phases or so, you have a almost guaranteed chance to hit and kill him. Anyway, in the meantime, we just give Celia a bit of EXP. I didn't talk about her, but she's a new unit, and she's a pretty good archer. Usually pretty good in this hack because of her very good EXP gain. Either way, that's Chapter 7X in 3 turns, and I'll see you next time for Chapter 8, aka NPC Phase, the chapter.